All right, hello everyone. This is the first time I'm filming a video about the large language models and more specifically OpenAI. So why? Because I'm not kind of angry, but surprised. So a couple of hours ago, GPT 5.2 was launched. Okay, and after GPT 5.1, they just claimed that I don't even know what they claim because I don't believe their claims. That's the topic of this video. Okay. So, in my own business, I'm using GPT 4.1 API. In my business, it's the real time restaurant environment, restaurant industry, and the AI needs to take the order. So, two things is very important for me: latency, so the speed, and also accuracy, of course, the intelligence, okay, because it needs to compile all the special customer requests. Okay, so the GPT 4.1, by the way, the OpenAI is the best, still the best model for me. In my case, none of the Google's models handled, especially the function calling properly. So starting from day one, I'm still using the OpenAI. Okay, I'm happy with the 4.1, but I'm little concerned about the last updates and the new movements coming from this company. Okay, I'm just gonna show you in this video that the explanations and the information about the new updates are actually not correct and reliable. So, first of all, GPT 5.1. Why didn't I move from GPT 4.1 to GPT 5.1? Because it needs to be more intelligent and apparently it is a faster, right? So look at here, GPT 5.1, GPT 4.1, let's compare them. So there are three guys here in the speed, but here, three dots, which means GPT 5.1 is supposed to be faster, right? In intelligence, they use different icons here, so I don't know what those mean, actually, because these are dots, okay, four dots, these are four like lamps or something. Whatever, but at least it should be faster and the intelligence should be better, I assume. Of course, this is a reasoning model, but I'm talking about the list reasoning, okay? I'm just gonna use GPT 5.1 as is. So, as is, like this, without the actual additional reasoning, it should be faster than the GPT 4.1. So, first of all, I'm happy with the speed actually. So, it's not faster than GPT 4.1. That's the case, okay? I'm just gonna show you. So, it's sometimes same, sometimes one of them is faster, sometimes the other one is faster, but in generally we cannot say so. If you look at here, you should expect that it should be at least like 30% faster, right? But it's not. It's actually same. More important thing for me and more surprised an interesting thing for me, the intelligence is really bad than the 4.1. And then I'm gonna show you the GPT 5.2, which was announced like a couple of hours ago, which is even worse than GPT 5.1. So this is maybe related to my use case, but I'm really talking about really basic things. So I'm not gonna get into details right now, but this is my test laboratory environment. Okay, so there is a specific case. Angel orders something. Okay, there is a talk between the AI agent and the customer, and then finally, AI agent creates an order. And I'm just telling two models, GPT 5.1, 4.1, and I'm just changing this. Okay, updating this in each and every case. Try to find the error. Okay, I have a specific instruction. Okay, these are blah blah. These are the rules. So just check out the output of the other AI model, okay, and judge it whether it's validated or what was the error. So when I run it with the GPT 5.1, which is the final model, okay, here is the output coming from the GPT 5.1. So request ordered is the function call, missing required field order instruction, okay. But when I go to the function schema, the order instruction is not even listed in the required. Okay, this is incredibly basic thing actually. So it's not even included in the requires, but it claims that it's so order instruction was in the required, but the model did not use that field, so that's an error. So this is a false negative, okay? So it thinks there is an error, but there is actually no error. So when I run, so by the way, here is the latencies, 1.62, the time to first token, and the total validation time is 2.11. So it depends on the output size, but more accurate reference for us is actually this one, time to first token, all right? So when I run, the same thing with the GPT 5.1, let's say what it's going to create for us. So it says validation passed. So this is something correct for this case. Actually, wait, yeah, I confused. This is not something correct. Okay, this shouldn't be passed, but the reason should be different. The reason should be what? Let me tell you the reason. The reason is actually the customer request thin crust pizza. Okay, customer request thin crust pizza at somewhere, I don't remember, but in the output we don't see the thin crust pizza. So thin crust pizza should be added somewhere, and there are very clear instructions here that, and actually some examples. For example, let's look at here. So validate the structure hierarchy match the schema definition, and extra instruction, other extra fields under each item capture additional requests the customer made. So if customer requests, for example, crispy wings or well done pizza, those must be indicated in somewhere in the schema. Let me put this comma here. Maybe that's the reason why GPT 5.1 looks like a dump. Look at here, the very specific instruction. Customer requests the thin crust pizza, and there is a field for the crust option in the schema, but you did not mark the request order schema. So this is an example output of the model actually. This is the judging, again, judging. So I'm not giving you the details. Maybe I need to give you more context, but the important thing is not that here. So let's look at the older versions. Okay, 4.1, and finally we will compare with the 4.1 mini, and you will see that even 4.1 mini acts better than the 5.1 and 5.2. So let's run this guy. Time to first token was 1.5 seconds. As you can see, the GPT 4.1 first of all is faster than the 5.1. So the OpenAI claim here is not correct. GPT 5.1 is not faster than the GPT 4.1. This is acceptable, by the way, for me. So 200 milliseconds is not a big deal, but it's still not faster. So the explanation is not correct. That's my problem actually here. Why you don't express your new model in a more reliable way. That's the problem. So here, as you can see, the correct error is detected by the 4.1. It says that the missing crust options field for both pizzas customer request in thin crust. So the customer request thin crust, but you forget that. And the 4.1 properly detected this error. 5.1 and 5.2 both were not able to detect this error. Okay, let's go to 4.1 mini. So I'm not sure, maybe this guy is not gonna be able to detect, but still I just want to give it a try. We see more than these seconds actually because it just initialized a lot of things, so it's not actually real distance, real latency. The real latency we'll see at the end. Okay, so here 4.1 mini, for example, has taken a little more time, so it depends on the request and the time, etc. So 4.1 use lunch special category in 12 inches. Okay, this is actually another little detail, but it's still acceptable error. So it says that actually 12-inch cheese pizza pickup orders at 12:42, so which is lunch special time for this specific restaurant, but you don't select the pickup specials in favor of the customer and you go with the regular category, which something you shouldn't do. This is also correct one, but it missed the other one. Okay, I'm just gonna give one another shot to 4.1 mini, and then I will give you more shots for the 5.1 and 5.2 as well. Again, this guy just think about the pickup specials. All right, let's try the 4.1 again. At least what we have seen so far, the error reports of the 4.1 and 4.1 mini were correct at least. Okay, some real reasonable errors when you look at the chat history. Again, 4.1 indicates the correct error. So I'm just running these guys again and again because it might be different from time to time. I mean, this is a probabilistic models, right? You cannot make it deterministic, and if it works once, it will work again. You cannot go to that result. Okay, I'm just gonna try 5.1 again. 5.1 doesn't shoot any error general. That's interesting. Again, the request oracle is correct, but it's not correct. There is a very basic error in the call. Customer says thin crust, but it doesn't request that request at the end of the conversation. That's really basic thing that a model can detect that. And 4.1 detects that, but 5.1 and even 5.2 does not detect that, even if they spend little more time than 4.1. Look at the error report of 5.2. 5.2 even worse than the 5.1, by the way. So that's why I just wanted to film this video actually. So every time the OpenAI, this is the case in the last 5-6 months, every time OpenAI launches a new model, it might be dumber than the previous. That's the interesting thing for me. So I was never able to leave my 4.1 to update my model to upper model. Okay, let's see what it does. It says launch special item list topping subject placement, but schema allows only topping, no placement. This makes no sense. Okay, I know my product, I know my use case, I know my context. You can just trust me that this doesn't make any piece of sense, right? Dumbest report ever. So even the 4.1 mini reports or outputs makes more sense in my context. So you might be saying that maybe it might be because of the context length or something, because the context length of 5.1 and 5.2 is smaller than the 4.1. What are they? Let's look at here. The context window is 1 million approximately, the 4.1, but the newer models are 400,000 tokens. So this is not also the reason, because my context is only 15,000 tokens or something. Let's look at that actually. So all the context is here. Let me copy everything and let me go tokenizer and paste it. So as you can see, it's only 17,000 tokens. So it shouldn't be also the reason, you know what I mean? Because 17,000 when you compare it with the 400,000, it's nothing. So I just wanted to film this here. If there would be anyone that can enlighten me, what might be the reason? What do you guys think about these new models of OpenAI? Just let me know. Yeah, that's something that I just wanted to share with you. So I have not tried the Gemini's new models, by the way, because the last ones, the 2.5 guys, was also bad in the function calling especially, and also in the talking. So OpenAI still, the 4.1 is the most reliable model in my case, and which is really good, by the way. We are using that daily. So error rates are 1% or something. So I just show you this think Rust error. So don't just assume that it's very big mistake happens all the time. So how do you use these models in the production level? No, it's only 1% maybe. So if I use the 4.1 100 times, it will only make that mistake, that think Rust not mentioned at the end of the order mistake will happen only 1%. But that 1% is also important for us, because a restaurant, for example, a busy restaurant takes 100 orders per day. So that means it will screw one order every day. So it's a big portion actually. So I'm just looking for, of course, better models and cheaper models. By the way, the 5.1 and 5.2 are cheaper than the 4.1. Okay, it actually motivates me to transfer from the 4.1 and the 5.1, but I can't because this guy is more smarter and reliable. So even if the price is cheap in the 5.1, it does not enough for me to move from 4.1 to 5.1. So again, what was I talking about? I was talking about the error rate. So 1% might not be a big deal in some sense, but it's actually a big deal in some other sense. So yeah, so there are a couple of ways to get rid of these. You can just put another judge model or something like that in each and every scenario, but that's not the topic of this video. The topic of this video is why these new models are dumber than the older models. Just a couple of hours ago, the OpenAI launched this model, and I just wanted to film this. This is the first time that I'm talking about LLM models and my use cases. Of course, I didn't give you a lot of context about details, but yeah, that's not the case. Why am I filming this video in English? Because I just wanted to reach more people. Maybe they have some idea about that. Maybe one answer will be, okay, this is a reasoning model, this is an intelligent, so this is old style, not a reasoning model, non-reasoning model. So you're comparing with a reasoning model with a non-reasoning model. But the problem is actually it's worse, right? Why do we create reasoning models? Because we are trying to make them smarter. But this non-reasoning model gives me smarter output than the reasoning model. So why do you reasoning? Why do you think that? Why are you reasoning right now? So that doesn't make any sense. So I have some assumptions. Maybe this icons and this icons difference might mean something, but still I'm not sure. And I don't know what is the launch day of the 4.1. GPT 4.1 launch day. Yeah, it's April 2025. So it's almost 9 months and I'm still waiting a better model than the 4.1 in my use case. By the way, my use case is very daily important use case. Okay, it's a pizza environment, restaurant environment, and the AI needs to take the phone call. So latency important, intelligence is important. What I mean by intelligence is not high intelligence, by the way. I'm not looking for the coder or very deep things or something like that. The customer will say something and you will take that properly. That's pretty much it, actually, right? So I'm not trying to make the model solve like a hardest equation, a mathematical equation or something like that. That's pretty much it. Just let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments.